Good blessed Sunday evening, July the 18th, 2021. It's about 5:13 p.m. I'd like to greet all human beings all around the world, as I always greet you, with a universal greetings of peace and the blessings of God be with you. It doesn't matter what your political, philosophical, personal, nor your religious beliefs may be. It doesn't matter whether you're the richest or the poorest person on the face of this earth. It doesn't matter if you're the proclaimed toughest or the proclaimed weakest person on the face of this earth. It doesn't matter if you're my family, friends, nor my proclaimed enemies. It doesn't matter what your nationality is. If you're black, white, it doesn't matter if you're young, old. I greet all of you all with that same universal greetings. It don't even matter if you don't like me. But I do recommend anybody that don't watch my YouTube video to go to my YouTube channel, Raymond, R-A-Y-M-O-N-D, Ivy, I-V-Y. For those that know me, I've been today make 121 days since my son Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N, Lamar, L-A-M-A-R, Johns, J-O-H-N-S, was found lynched. I was saying hung, but he was found lynched in Carbondale, Illinois on March the 19th, 2021 in the 400 block of Oakland Street in the Gas Lights Apartments on the 3rd floor in the hallway. When I found out about it around the 23rd of March of 2021, it had been about 4 days allegedly since my son died. Me personally, after I seen all the crime scene and seen everything else and heard from first-hand witnesses, I believe my son died either on the 18th of March 2021 or sooner than that. But he was dead before he was lynched and put up on that railing to be hung. And I want to show y'all something. If you've been following my YouTube channel, you've been following my new group that I recently formed, which is Justice for Bryan Lamar Johns. You would see, if you follow the videos, you would see and ask yourself, how did the deputy coroner, Sam, according to what he told me he was the coroner, but he didn't give me no ID or no card. He just written his name down. But some people think his last name is B-R-Y-A-N-T, but his last name is the same as my first name, according to him. I don't even know, because he never showed me any type of ID. He was with the commanding investigating detective for the Carbondale, Illinois Police Department. So I assume, you see what I'm saying, that I can trust them, but I can't trust them now, and I'll show you why in a minute. But his name was Sam Bryan, B-R-Y-A-N. I want to know how him and Matt Dunnings, which is the Matt Dunning, Sam Bryan is the deputy coroner for the Jackson County, Illinois coroner's office. And Matt Dunning is a commanding investigator lieutenant for the Carbondale, Illinois Police Department. Tell me how two people with such rank, and I'm sure they have some education, but I know for a fact that to the best of my knowledge, that Sam Dunning is not a coroner. He's not a medical examiner. He's not even a doctor. And I can tell you from first-hand knowledge, when he opened up the body bag on the 24th of March 2021 to let me see my son's body, he's an incompetent deputy coroner. And I'm going to tell you why. My son didn't have no shirts on when they found him, allegedly. I don't believe nothing they say, allegedly. But then my son still had on his underwear, his pants, and his socks. Now, how is they going to determine, these two individuals I just told y'all, they don't determine within 4 or 5 days that my son's death was suicide? And they made up their mind 5 days later now. 5 days according to me, because that's when I first talked to them. But they had to have that made up already. But how did they come to the conclusion when no toxicology tests hadn't came back? I don't even know if they took any. But I know for a fact they hadn't even took an autopsy. The autopsy was done the next day on the 25th. Now, how did they come to the conclusion that it was a suicide? And they said it was only two things a way of suicide it would be. One, if he had drugs in his system. When the toxicology tests come back, they'll say, like they did do, Dr. Kiffinger did on July the 23rd, 2021, put on their suicide. And the secondary thing was abuse, methamphetamine abuse. But how can they determine that? Either suicide by drugs, if he didn't have drugs in his system, suicide by mental health within 4 or 5 days. Now, it's been 121 days. On the 25th, they started what they call a death investigation. It hasn't been in any newspaper. They told me at first they didn't put it in the newspaper because they wanted to make sure that they find out who the family of the deceased. But let me ask y'all this here. How many of y'all read the Southern newspaper who refused to put my son's case in their paper, but yet here it is, a body was just found on Thursday. What was Thursday, baby? What is the day?
It was the 15th.
Thursday the 15th in Marion, Illinois, or Williamson County. They just found some remains of a body, but it's in the Southern paper. They got some remains in the wildlife, wherever it was, in Williamson County, and they got the Illinois State Police involved. They got the Williamson County Sheriff Department involved. They got all these other people. With my son, it was just the Carbondale Police Department. But tell me, how did they come up with that? And I want to show y'all something. Now, it's too many things to show that my son probably was robbed, and he most likely was dead before he was hung and lynched up on that thing. Now, I told y'all about an individual, white female, one of y'all school teachers in the Carbondale, Illinois, school, in your high school, was spending my son's food stamp card. The latest, I think, was April the 29th, 2021. My son had been dead, I believe, the best of my calculation, 39 days. 39 days, y'all. And she was spending the card. But I'm assuming when school started back, she'll be going right back, because she was spending a black dead man's card. But then here's another white woman, claims she found my son's wallet with nothing in it. First, she told me, I told y'all June the 1st on one of my things, but all the rest of them said it was on June the 7th. She told me that her and my son got high together. He stayed with her every now and then. They was having their little romance things with the drugs and all that there. But she claimed she found my son's wallet. This was on June the 7th, 2021. She found my son's wallet empty a week and a half after my son's death. She had that calculated good, so she must have knew when he died. You see what I'm saying? But then, when I talked to her on July the 4th to come retrieve my son's wallet, all of a sudden, the police detectives came to talk to her, and she said her wallet was missing. So we know what happened to that. You see what I'm saying? Now, on the June the 4th, I asked her again, July the 4th, I asked her again, when did you say you found my son's wallet? See, a liar, they got to try to remember stuff. When you're telling the truth, when you see me, when I'm telling this story over and over, I ain't got nothing written down because I got it up in here. I don't use drugs. God is my light and salvation. Whom should I fear? You see what I'm saying? But she said on July the 4th, she said she found my son's wallet 2 days after he was dead. Ain't that something? But now, All of a sudden the wallet is missing. But let me show y'all another white woman. Let me get this thing here. Let me show y'all another. We got 2 white women connected to my son's death. Now let me show you something that another white woman said, and I want y'all to look at this real good. These happen to be 2 of my son's t-shirts on the 3rd floor in the hallway of the 400 block of Sycamore Street, right around the corner from Oakland Street. Now, a white female took these before she gave them to the police. The police claiming they found my son's body March the 19th, 2021. Somebody found it about 1:35 p.m. When you look at all these here, you'll know it's daylight when this girl took this here. This is right by her apartment. But before we get to that, no, I'm gonna go ahead on. These is how she says she found them now. Now this is too perfect. This is the way she found it. She said, now you see what she got on that? Who's the TF is a t-shirt is this? This is what she put on there. It make me wonder if she just putting on there to throw people off. Now, you see the way these is at? Do this seem like somebody that's getting ready to commit suicide, gonna drop the t-shirts off just like this? But let me show you what she said she did after that. She said she separated them. For what? It looked like they've been washed. Maybe blood or something was washed out of it, like in the Molly Young's case. You know what the police allowed? They said the police allowed the dispatcher for the police department to take a shower, wash the gun off, wash his hands off, wash his clothes off, clean his behind. I wondered if the police let this girl clean these here. We don't want no white woman being charged with having something to do with a black man being killed in Carbondale. We don't want to scare off the students. We don't want an uproar, rather. Now, she mixed them up like this. That's contaminating evidence. Now, let's go to another one that she took. Look what she got here. Someone's mask. She know who mask it is. She told me it was my son's mask. You see what I'm saying? But I want to back up for 1 minute and show y'all something on the mask. I mean, on the t-shirt, the first t-shirt. I want to see if y'all can see. Is this the one or is the other one? I believe it's I want y'all to see these dark marks going all the way down the stairs. Let me see the next one. You may be able to see it clear. You see these dark marks going all the way down them stairs? It ain't over here, but it's all the way down there. It's showing me something that could have been blood that they cleaned up. But you see these so far? This is her taking pictures before she give it to the police. She said she heard the police around the corner on Oakland Street, on the 3rd floor on Oakland Street, and I don't know how she can hear that if she in the hallway taking these pictures. But she was taking these before she even showed it to the police. Let's go to the next one. She went and took the mask. You see what she said? Somebody's mask. Someone's mask. You see this? Look like blood or something. You don't see them marks down on this side here, do you? Somebody did a lot of cleaning up, like they let the dispatcher for the Carbondale Police Department do. But let me go to the next one. Now, down here, she took another one. You got glass and stuff down here. Look here. Somebody broke the fire extinguisher. She looking at all this here. But let's go to another key thing. She even found this outside. When you come out of the building, you go to the left, she found this outside. She found all this stuff before the police even get it. The police over there with my son's body around the corner on the 3rd floor. Ain't that suspicious? This same act, and the police claim that he seen my guy had video of my son walking into some white elderly people house on the 18th of March. And the people called, and it was on camera. And he said it looked like my son. He said my son had a brown axe. See, he didn't know I had this. This is a brown axe. You see how old this is? I would have a reason to put duct tape on this because it's so old. You see what I'm saying? But he said my son had a brown axe. If this the same axe, you see what, if you can see right there real clear at the tip of the axe right here, do you see how new that axe is? That axe look brand new. You see what I'm saying? What would somebody tape it up for unless they trying to cover some fingerprints up off of it? But the Carbondale Police Department, they don't have none of that in the evidence. You see what I'm saying? And then the female that found all this, she said that it sounded like somebody was beating on her door about 10 something at night on the 18th. And she peeped out of her peephole and she said she seen somebody moving away. And it seemed like they were beating on the door with an axe. And guess what? Her door had marks on it. And she said as if somebody had been hitting on it with an axe. Now, ain't that kind of strange? All of this here. Then my son got money balled up in his hand. You see what I'm saying? Then he got drugs in his socks. But the coroner, the deputy coroner, didn't find none of this here. You know why? Because he had already ruled my son's death suicide. They didn't already let the pathologist know this is suicide. You see what I'm saying? The pathologist is the one that found the drugs in my son's socks and got a bullet out of his foot on the 25th when she allegedly took an autopsy. Now, what's that showing y'all? The bullet could lead to somebody done shot and killed somebody else, because a white guy was shot the same month in the same year, June of 2020, by 910, in the area of 910 Sycamore, 5 blocks away from where my son's body was found at, and his clothes was found at, and where his wallet was actually found at, according to this white girl. But that bullet couldn't trace back if they gave it to ATF. You see, Carbondale Police Department is not ATF. Carbondale Police Department is not forensic science specialists. You see what I'm saying? If they was, they didn't have to send nothing to the Illinois State Police Department. They'll do it themselves. They incompetent. They don't want to admit that they don't have the proper specialists to do this type of work. So they want to call this here a suicide. And y'all see that paper, read the paper about the remains, the body remains are found in Marion, Illinois. I think Marion got something to do with, well, that's Williamson County, but the Southern paper got it in their paper. And this just happened on the 15th. And the day, the 18th, 3 days later, it's been 121 days, but my son is a black man that been hung, and the Southern I don't care who don't like it, the Southern don't think that my son's life was worth putting in their paper. But I tell you what, you'll find out sooner or later. You see what I'm saying? I want the world to see what the Southern, what the pathologist from Vienna, what the coroner from Jackson County, what the chief of police and all of his staff, what the NAACP and all these other leaders in Carbondale, Illinois, if the shoe fit, wear it, because some leaders have spoke up. Some leaders has allowed me to sit down with them. You see what I'm saying? I ain't been in there in NAACP meeting, but I filed a complaint on the 11th of May. But I guess that's how they operate. A black man that ain't a student of Carbondale, a black man that don't live there. You see what I'm saying? A black man that been to prison, a black man that's homeless, a black man that's on drugs. But that black man was my son. And I don't care how much negativity it get on Carbondale. If you run in Carbondale and you keep on covering my son's death up, you explain this to somebody. Why having that girl's apartment with all this stuff neatly taken before she gave it to the police? Why haven't that apartment been combed with forensic scientists to see if any of my sons hair or any of his DNA in any of them apartments. You know why? Again, I think it's racism. All them other deaths in Carbondale ain't been hidden. You thought you were going to burn my son body, Sam Bryan and Matt Dunnings. Y'all thought you were going to burn my son body. But I tell you what, God might decide to burn both of y'all. And you chief of police talking about my son got demons in him. You got demons in you. Your staff got demons in you. I don't care if you got a black assistant, city attorney. If she's sitting silent, she ain't no different than y'all. You see what I'm saying? Y'all want to hire individuals like the slave master did. Put them in the house. You give them pig ears, stuff that you don't want. Pig nose, that stuff that you don't want. Pig ankles, pig intestines, that what they don't want. But I was one of them ones, my people was out in the field. When your master got sick, I don't care if it was your mama, your grandmama, the way they was doing us when they got sick, the doctor asked what a sick master's at. If it's due north, I'm going to tell them due south. You almost there, just keep going due south. Y'all don't like that, do you? I don't like what you covering up with my son. My daughters don't like it. My son's daughter don't like it. In Carbondale, NAACP, y'all ought to be shamed. School teachers. And y'all from Chicago, too? I'm from Chicago. And I don't care who don't like it. Y'all need to resign. If anybody wants some help, I go to the Ku Klux Klan. They may give me more help than the Carbondale, just like the Charleston, Missouri NAACP. I want this to go nationwide, y'all. And I don't care who don't like it. SIU students, when y'all come back, get on this case. If you can put in the paper about some bones that just been found in Williamson County. My son was a human being. Those of y'all that said that I'm sounding angry, the Bible says, Jesus said it's okay to get angry, but don't sin in your anger. Let me tell you how Jesus got angry one time. When him and his disciples was on his way to Jerusalem, they on their way to Jerusalem, and they stopped at the synagogue, and the merchants and the customers was selling stuff inside the synagogue. He turned them tables over. You know why he turned them tables over? He was angry because they didn't supposed to be doing what they was doing. Y'all said that y'all law enforcement people trust y'all. And then Guy Draper, the sergeant. How is it you found my son? You was there with them when they first on the scene with my son's body. They was taking pictures of my son hung up from off of the side where the bike was at, on the opposite side where he was hung, and you could see Guy Draper in the background of the picture standing on the second landing. Sergeant Guy Draper on March the 13th, 2021, when the Samaritan home called to get my son some help. Who come? Sergeant Draper. My son was afraid to go with Sergeant Draper. Why? Then Sergeant Draper, Sergeant what is his name? Dunnigan. He told me, look at this footprint in his computer. He said that Sergeant Draper found that. Sergeant Draper finding everything. But let me tell you what some white people told me. Some white people told me when my son got shot, Sergeant Draper gave him $1,000 to go to Chicago and told him don't come back. My son came back. My son told these people this. Just like Sergeant, the investigator attorney telling me what somebody else told them that my son Bryan told him 18 months ago when he was in the prison, he was talking about committing suicide. You don't see nothing on that. That's what somebody told me. But somebody told me Sergeant Draper gave my son $1,000 to go to Chicago and don't come back. Then when my son came back, my son said that white people told me that my son told them that Sergeant Draper took them to the park. You see what I'm saying? And told him he didn't supposed to be back here. I don't care what type of rank you got. I don't care what type of badge you got. If you got something to do with my son, do me like you did my son. Do me like you did my son. Try to put something around my neck. If the police involved, it'll be around your neck with your badge stuck in your head. Peace be still.